Good morning, Max.
Good morning, guys. I got to tell you just one little bit of history about George Jones and that song you just played. The fact is, that was one of his first #1 hits.
Yeah.
You know how many takes it took him to do that song?
I mean,
83 takes.
83
to make that
takes.
song what we understand today.
I bet that was a bunch of bottles, too.
But you no doubt at the end, I'm surprised you heard him talk. But he was. I got a chance to. I moved to North Mississippi and done a lot of things over here. But I live in the town that Tammy Wynette was born and raised in. Her family still lives here. I get a chance to visit with them on occasion. Just to, it's the history of people like a George Jones or whoever it may be in any entertainment business is really fascinating to me because so many of the real stories, as you all know, never get out.
No.
So anyway, I had to drop that in there on you this morning.
I'm glad you did. I don't want to belabor this because I have a feeling I know the answer because I think the coaches you work for are different than Nick Saban. What was the process of guys wanting to play baseball and miss spring training football?
Coach, I tell you, we were talking about that just a moment ago before I came in with your producer. And the fact is, if he's on football scholarship, I would have to almost guess that had been predetermined.
Yeah,
what decision? They had to say, look, you got to go to spring training. The scholarship, the football scholarship, look, it's 11.7 scholarships for baseball. They got to divide those equal with 25 guys. So I mean, the financial distribution is not nearly fair. We know. So the baseball coaches got to find those athletes. I know, but that's already predetermined and pre-understood.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're in spring training, for example, they got to participate in that, in the area that they're being paid for, and they're being paid a scholarship to go to school to play football. So I don't see that should be a big controversy, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think the situation here, I think the kid ended up being a better baseball player than they thought. He didn't play his freshman year and started playing this year.
Yeah.
But in the recruiting process, I guess if a guy is a two-sport athlete, I don't know, Jameis Winston or something like that, I guess that probably has to be covered on the front end as far as what's going to be expected. And then the kid can make a wise decision. But each sport, I don't care if it's baseball, football, they all want the time. But I guess the baseball has to kind of bite their lip in these situations, don't they? Sure. Because it's the kid is on football scholarship.
Well, like I say, and if the kid thinks his future, is in baseball, and again, I don't know what his financial background is, but if he's in baseball, then maybe he needs to reserve all his time for baseball and maybe step away from the football program. But again, financially, that's hard to do if you came from a very weak economic background. Your family can't afford to pay. You've got to stay where the scholarship is.
You have a quick feeling on a guy transferring has gotten his degree like they did at Florida State to Alabama.
Yeah.
You have a quick feeling on that as far as a guy who thinks he's going to be the starting quarterback of Alabama, all of a sudden somebody comes in on top of it. Is that a rule that will be changed, or is that a good rule?
Coach, I think it's going to be looked at every year. I really do. But, we've seen some success. Well, in fact, look at Coker. I never thought the guy was going to make it. I thought there was a reason he left Florida State because he couldn't, he never got the starting job there. He ends up, and I didn't know that he was going to ever get the starting job at Alabama. He comes back. I think every case has to be evaluated separately. We saw the Wilson kid go from North Carolina State to Wisconsin and on to the NFL and won a Super Bowl. There are other individual situations that are unique. Just a massive transfer, I don't know how many kids out there really want to do that, if you want to look through. Most of them, this, once they've played their tenure out, if they've not been ultra successful, they just ready to get that degree and move on. So I'd say that I think every case probably needs to be evaluated on its merits.
Now, I'm fully realize who the head coach is. If there's a mixed feeling between David Cornwell and Blake Barnett and Cooper Bateman, between Nick Saban, and how much does he lean? How much does he lean on Lane Kiffin to name the quarterback or tell him things that he doesn't, that Nick Saban actually doesn't see?
Coach, I'm going to tell you, 2 years ago, I'd say little or none. Now, I think the track record's pretty well proven. Yeah, look, I was not a big-time Lane Kiffin fan, I'll be honest with you. And I just based on his record, what he'd done, where he'd been, not been successful, and so forth. But I was just, I didn't know the inside, didn't know And I think really one of the reasons Lane got there was because of money. Money and Coach Saban are pretty good friends through the years, but he gave him a chance. And I don't think anybody can, deny the results and the individual improvement in performance. I think speaks for itself. And Coach Saban, as good as he is, he doesn't coach the quarterbacks on a snap-by-snap basis at practice every day. That's what Kiffin does, and I think the results was there. So I'm going to say to you that now he's got somewhat of a proven record with quarterbacks. I think he's going to listen to Lane Kiffin, pretty intensely.
Okay.
Which is more important, when you look at that situation? Is a guy that maybe knows the offense a little bit better than maybe the other guy, or do you go with the guy that just has superior talent? Oh, maybe superior is a bad word, but the talent that can grow into the job. I mean, how do you have to really determine what type of football team do you have, or do you always go with the guy that knows the most over the talented guy?
But I think the situation dictates. If you've got a good surrounding cast and your program's coming back like Alabama did last year, they tried Cooper Bateman in one game. Let's see, that was a game they lost, I believe.
Yeah.
So, and I don't identify that individually, but that's the end result. So I think you have to look at what the surrounding cast is. If you got great defense, you got good offensive front and you've good running backs, and you can bring him along, let him learn the offense as he goes. I think you got to go with a good athlete. But the other side of that is if in fact your system is designed as a management type system, and Alabama has been that way before, I think you got to go with a guy that can perform on the field. If he understands the offense, don't throw the pick, don't lay it on the ground. Be sure that he's very sound in what he does on every snap. And Alabama's program is to the point. Unlike, I'm going to practice today at Ole Miss, and I can't wait to get over there just to take a hard look at the drills and what they take those kids through every day. I want to see what Chad Kelly, if he's improved since last year. But I think it depends on what program you're talking about, and I don't know that every program in the country is the same.
Well, Nick Saban's big on, I want a guy that wins the team over. And I don't think either quarterback had done that last year until Jake Coker came in after they were down, and he kind of brought the team. I think he won the team over that day. So I think that's hard to determine in spring practice or even in fall practice till you get to a game. You win the team over by performing in the game, don't you? And that's what Nick's looking for. So he usually has two guys there. He's done that every year that I can remember. Even when Blake Sims, they had another guy there to see who's going to perform in the game and the team's going to buy into.
I don't think he's any doubt, guys. And I know y'all probably watched that spring game when Blake Sims was a junior headed into his senior year. And if you'd have told me he was going to be I'm not real sure that a lot of coaches wouldn't run him off. I believe he threw 4 or 5 picks that day in the spring game before his senior year. And all of a sudden, over the next 3 months, he got better and better and better, and he did it by his performance. And I think we'd say the same thing for Coker. His performance won the team over. And you're right, man. You can't do that at practice. I mean, everybody knows what everybody is. You know what? I really wish one day, and I know this has been talked after before, a lot of people disagree. I'd love to see competition in a spring game between two teams outside the conference. Let Alabama bring in Southern Miss or somebody that was comparable, and limit to what they do. Maybe take the kicks away, but let them have it. Because the kids and the coaches both get tired of leaning on each other all during spring, and they've done it all in the off season. They competed against each other. I just think it'd make for a lot more, and I think you get a much more realistic picture at the end of spring going into that. I don't know whether that'll ever happen or not, but first of all, ESPN is going to come into Tuscaloosa and really televise Alabama's spring game, which it'll be a limited scrimmage is all it is. So I don't know. I think you get a lot better read on where you are at the end of spring going into summer practice.
Max, I want to just as a different question. It could be football, basketball. Do you agree with all these ADs? And I don't know. It happens a lot in basketball. I'm sure it does football. And they'll say, well, it's just to do some behind-the-scenes stuff. But do you agree with all these people hiring these search firms to hire head coaches now? Or is that not the AD's job, is to hire a coach? Why are we spending so much money on search firms these days.
Well, I'll tell you why, because they want to lean. They want somebody else to lean on. They don't want that personal, that primary responsibility.
But isn't that their job?
But it is. But let me tell you, Barry, it's coming down the road. And Coach, you know this. At some point in time, the athletic director has to assume some of that responsibility because of performance. If you make the wrong hire, what do? You usually fire the coach, but you have 2 or 3 sports that you make the wrong hire in. Somebody's making some bad mistakes at the top when they make those decisions. And so I'm saying they use that kind of as a crutch. Well, I agreed with that, but the primary search was done by X firm out here. They gave me 5 names, and I made the decision. I'm waiting on the day that athletic director made a wrong decision on 2 or 3 different sports, and all of them have losing programs. Somebody's got to move out at the top. I'll tell you, they need to make a change at the athletic director's office.
Well, I just think, they'll say, well, they just do it to talk behind the scenes and let find out who's interested. That way there's no direct contact. But everybody now has an agent.
Sure.
And these agents and the assistant ADs are talking together. I always laugh when they put a big committee together. They'll have some professor and all these people on. They couldn't tell you a basketball or a football from a bass fiddle, but they're on the committee that's going to actually select this coach. I just want to get your feelings about the whole process.
Well, that is the political correctness system that we're in today, guys. I'm telling you. And that sometimes I've had it over my head with political correctness. I tell you, I'm all about performance and results, and that's what I came up that way, and I don't know. I think all of us still want that, but our whole society has gotten so point where we don't want to fire anybody, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Give me a break. When they line up out there on Saturday afternoon and they put their hand on the ground and butt somebody in the mouth, to me, political correctness goes out the window.
This is a dumb question, but I what's the one? How difficult will the Southern Cal game be?
Oh, I think it's going to be a good challenge this year. I really do. I know they made the change out there in the coach, and I was fortunate enough that one of my best friends, when Ogeron was out there 2 years ago, and they moved him up, the guy that started off coaching with me down at Troy was called to come in and coach the defensive front. And I think they won 6 or 7 in a row. And he's still very close to Coach Saban. He still does a lot of consultant work for Alabama and other schools around the country. And I talk to him on a regular basis, and he said that's going to be a good ball game. It'll be Alabama will have to play well, and I think they will. Coach Saban has all spring and all. When Southern Cal gets ready, I'm not saying that they'll overlook Alabama, but Southern Cal is more interested in winning where they are out there on the West Coast. To me, Alabama puts a lot of emphasis on that first ball game because they set the national, they got all the national eyes on them around the country, and they want to set that standard on how good they're going to be. And if you notice Alabama's schedule after that for the next couple of weeks is pretty good. Then they got Ole Miss. I think they go to Oxford this year. So I think their schedule sets up, but to tell you, Coach, right off the bat, I'm saying it's going to be a good ball game. I like Alabama to win it, but I think it'll be a pretty close game.
Are they as athletic as they used to be?
Yeah, they are. They've gone back to that. They really have. They've got some good. I hate to say this, but the last couple of coaching staffs they've had out there just hadn't gotten it done. But see, the California kids, that's a whole different attitude. You've got to really, even though they got great athletes out there, they got some attitude problems. We all know that. So you got to be real careful on how you handle those guys. But a good coaching staff will come in. Remember what Coach Bryant used to say about Florida? If anybody ever got to Florida and coach, they dominate. Well, Spurrier got there, and they pretty well dominated for a long time. I think Southern Cal's headed back in that same direction.
Max, talk about this unfortunate situation over with the Mississippi State signee over there in y'all state, Jeffrey Simmons. Whew, that's a tough deal there. How does Mississippi State handle this whole situation?
Well, it's been very quiet over here. I got to tell you guys. I mean, that for whatever reason they've done, and I'm not sure they didn't do the right. They hadn't done the right thing. They've kept everything. I don't even believe they've had a press release about spring training. I mean, they hadn't done anything. So I think whatever's going on internally, I think that's exactly the way it's going to stay until some final decisions are made on what they want to release to the public. So, I have to say I'm going to plead somewhat ignorant to that, mainly because I'm sitting in Tupelo, starting 75 miles down the road, and rarely ever do you hear anything coming out about any process that's going on at Mississippi State right now.
Well, it's a delicate situation. They got the video out there. It's families. I don't know. It's all messy. You hate to see everybody says, well, he needs to go to a lower level. Like, what does that mean? Like, does the lower level not have standards as far as what they accept? You hate to see a kid's career never get started. That's probably one of his tickets out over a mistake there. But then you get killed if you let the kid come to school. You're really in a no-win situation. And like a lot of times, I think Coach Saban does things that he's trying to help a kid. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, then, oh, Lord, everybody comes out of the woodwork beating you upside the head. So that's really a tough situation to handle about what's right to do.
It really is. But see, remember the Petway situation, and I followed that one pretty close. The kid got caught up in those 4 that he dismissed a couple of years ago. He goes off to junior college, and all he did the right thing by dismissing, but he let him come back. If you remember, that was quietly done. I don't ever remember seeing it in the paper. All of a sudden, Petway shows up, and what he did, he starts his last year and had a great year for him on the defensive side. So I think then the other kid that they took was a kid that they dismissed from Georgia. Well, that didn't work out when he got rid of him quickly. So I think determination on the way you handle that internally has a lot to do. And by the way, the statement that was made about going to a lower level, one of the reasons where they do that is the fact is that there's very little publicity about that. The kid can go in for whatever reason, and I don't want to say get lost as far as the media is concerned, but he can go in and if he needs to get an education, has to have a scholarship to do. Again, and I'm not excusing whatever's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the reason a lot of kids choose to go down to a 1AA or Division II.
Well, I just think people are so quick to not give a kid a second chance.
I'm not even sure what happened on that.
There's a fight there, and there were 2 women, and then one of the signee, he got in the middle of it, and he hit one of the women, but they were videoing it, and so now the police have pressed charges on all of them just about. So, here you got a man hitting a woman, which he should never do. I'm not condoning that at all, but it was just one of those family deals he got in the middle of, heat of the moment. I'm all about giving a kid a second chance. Sometimes kids even need a third chance. I mean, these kids are 17 years old. They're going to make mistakes. I hate to define the rest of his life off of one situation.
See, here's the ideal situation for that kind of circumstance, in my opinion, where they are. East Mississippi is 25 miles from them. And they won the national championship a couple of years in a row last year. I'd have that kid over there tomorrow. I'd let him stay there, get his AA degree, and come back to Mississippi State. Because I'm going to tell you, that program is highly recruited by 10 or 15 schools in the country. Good competition. There's nothing to do in Scuba, Mississippi. Trust me. I've been there too many times, and you can control what goes on. I don't know that that's the answer for him, because I don't know a lot about the circumstances. I do know that he was one of the most highly recruited kids in the state of Mississippi this past year, and he was the only miss that Ole Miss missed and gave up to Mississippi State on their list. And I know that was some kind. There's a lot of comment about that at the end of the recruiting season. Again, I guess now the Ole Miss people, kind of sit back and say, well, maybe we didn't make a bad choice after all in not taking him. So bottom line is that has happened. But if I'm sitting in Dan Mullen's shoes, I'll let all this blow over. I enrolled him at Mississippi. Keep up with him, have some coach check on him every week or whatever. In 2 years, I have him back.
Yeah, I just hope everybody plays Monday morning quarterback. If you bring him back and then something happens, everybody's like, sure. Why in the world? And that to me is the toughest thing for coaches. I mean, Coach Saban last year, he was trying to give the kid another chance. He wasn't going to define him on one situation, and something came up, and I don't even know if I think the charges were even dropped against the kid, but he just got crucified in the media by people, which, I don't know. Anybody can tell you what.
Remember the nature of the media. Remember, they looking for that story, Barry. That's what that separates some guys as far as reporters are concerned. It used to be, you know, the reporters that covered the events, they were like part of your family. But that's not the case today. Everybody's got a camera and a cell phone. I mean, they're looking for some way to go to YouTube or wherever to broadcast and say, look at me. I put that out there. That's the whole difference in our society today that was 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. All right, Max, tell us what's for supper.
Well, he needs to tell us about his website.
Okay, we can do that too.
Yeah, let me tell you guys quickly. We've got GameDayAL.com up now, and that's going to be picking up really nice sponsorship all around. We're going to probably embed a different phase of GameDayAL.com down on the Gulf Coast, because there's a lot of interest all the way from Baton Rouge to Tallahassee. We may kind of separate that out. We're trying to make that decision now. Sponsorship's going great. Game Day, MISS, GameDayMiss.com. We've already pulled the Tupelo page and embedded it there. We're breaking out GameDaySEC.com on Media Day in Birmingham. A lot more to talk about when that comes. But the whole thing is keeping the content fresh. We've got a couple of guys working on that now. I've hired 3 full-time salesmen on the road all over the South to get us to bring our sponsorships. And I'll tell you, it's amazing even to us how quickly the thing's going.
Well, that's awesome. All right, what's for supper?
All right, man. Let me tell you, Easter just passed. We know that. Everybody had to have a sliced sugar cured ham. We had that. But I actually cooked a baked chicken. I did baked chicken breast in the oven and smothered with mushroom gravy. It was absolutely great. And I had roasted mixed vegetables, new potatoes, carrots, onions, and I poured a thick buttery sauce over that. A house salad. And, of course, on the side for Easter, you got to have deviled eggs. I mean, you can't eat. I think I must eat about half a dozen of those. Homemade yeast rolls, a big old pitcher of sweet iced tea. Now, I got to tell you something about dessert this time. I'm a big bread pudding guy. I fixed that Louisiana bread pudding, poured over a big sugary syrup on top of it. But I forgot to tell you, I made a chocolate Louisiana bread pudding this time. I'm telling you, it was so, I couldn't eat about 2 bites. Is all I could because of the other food. But we had a great Easter, and I think it's 9 or 10 of us on Sunday night. So had a great time, and certainly getting ready to get on the road today and watch a little college football practice over at Ole Miss.
Thanks a lot, Max.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.